Donald Trump is panicking as his top aides are making stunning confessions to him. They're confessing that America is not winning this war in Iran, that this war is catastrophic. Donald Trump's chief of staff, Susan Wiles, has told all of Donald Trump's cabinet members and staff members, stop lying to him, tell him the truth about what's really going on and how much Americans hate this war, which also raises questions about Donald Trump's cognitive and physical decline as well, that Donald Trump was learning about this war from 2-minute hype reels showing the United States and Israel blowing things up. I'll get to all of this in just a moment. Other confessions being made to Donald Trump right now. Iran still has most of its ballistic missiles, most of its Shahed drones, most of its FPV drones. It has not been blown away to smithereens. It has not been decimated. Over 50% of ballistic missiles and launchers are retained, and tens of thousands of FPV and Shahed drones are retained by Iran. Other confessions that are being made. Iran is emboldened and they've been legitimized in the biggest way on the world stage, basically in Iranian history. Countries are calling Iran on a bilateral basis, trying to cut deals with it. For example, the Philippines, their leaders, they're supposed to be allied with the United States. Their leaders reaching out directly to Iranian's foreign minister, Araghchi, to cut deals in order to get crude oil from the region through the Strait of Hormuz. And Iran is setting up its diplomatic tentacles like never before as countries are looking away from the United States and they're looking to cut deals directly with Iran. It's, folks, confession after confession after confession, and as Donald Trump is trying to, process all of this, I mean, he's so deranged and such a lunatic and such a malignant narcissist that he's just, basically accelerating and escalating things. I mean, his posts last night were as deranged as ever. I mean, with Americans suffering here, psychologically tortured by the conditions in the United States, can't afford anything, can't afford rent, can't afford homes, can't afford groceries, can't afford gas. The price of crude is at record highs. I mean, you've got Donald Trump out there posting. This was his post from last night. Is Bruce Springsteen going to sue his plastic surgeon? It's a real post from Donald Trump last night. Then Donald Trump posts a photo of himself in front of the demolition site where the Golden Ballroom by the White House is supposed to be built, even though a federal judge has blocked Donald Trump's construction of the federal ballroom, the Golden Ballroom. Donald Trump post. I would like to thank the hardworking commissioners and staff of the National Capital Planning Commission who just voted overwhelmingly 8-1 to approve the magnificent White House ballroom now rising on the hallowed ground. Donald, it's not rising anymore. The judge banned it. Your commission voting 8-1 does not override the judge. The federal judge appointed by George W. Bush said that only if there's congressional authorization can this Golden Ballroom be built, and without congressional authorization, it's prohibited, it's banned. I mean, you're citing your own hand-picked goons who voted 8-1 to do what? They can't override what the judge did. Then Donald Trump just kept on posting photos of the ballroom yesterday, like multiple photos of the ballroom. Then he posted a photo of Davy Crockett and said, obviously, David Crockett, a distant relative of Jasmine Crockett, has a very high IQ frontiersman, would be proud of the legacy that he began long ago, and especially Jasmine Crockett's great success as a politician from the great state of Texas, President Donald J. Trump. I mean, what the hell is he talking about? And then this one is his post about the war, I guess, where it's just bragging about more war crimes. Donald Trump writes, our military, the greatest and most powerful by far anywhere in the world, hasn't even started destroying what's left in Iran. Bridges next, then electrical power plants. New regime leadership knows what has to be done and has to be done fast. And that's in caps, the word fast, exclamation point. Donald J. Trump, and this was after earlier in the day yesterday, Donald Trump posted a video of the United States blowing up the B-1 bridge on the Karaj Northern Bypass, which killed several people and injured lots of people as well. It's a bridge that was not even fully operational. And yesterday morning, as you know, Donald Trump posted, the biggest bridge in Iran comes tumbling down, never to be used again, much more to follow. And then he puts this in caps. It is time for Iran to make a deal before it's too late, and there's nothing left of what still could become a great country. President Donald J. Trump, that's what's called a war crime right there, or a crime against humanity. And then the Trump regime tried to leak to their favorite propagandist right now, this guy Barack Ravid, who just posts whatever the Trump regime tells him to post. As our editor-in-chief, Ron Filipkowski, writes, it really shouldn't be this easy to get propaganda laundered, but Barack Ravid is one of the Trump regime's biggest propagandists. He writes yesterday, a U.S. official tells me the bridge was attacked because it was used by the Iranian armed forces to try and secretly move missiles and missile parts from Tehran to launch sites in western Iran, and for giving logistical support for Iranian military and Tehran, which was immediately fact-checked. The bomb bridge was under construction and not even yet open to traffic, contradicting claims it was used for military transport of missiles. Now back to some of the confessions that were being made. So Susie Wiles, that's Donald Trump's chief of staff, she's been expressing concerns that aides are giving Donald Trump a rose-colored view of how the war was being perceived domestically, telling Trump what he wanted to hear, and urged others, please be more forthright with the boss about the political and economic risks. Comes from a Time magazine article. I'll talk more about that in a moment. But as David Pine writes, White House Chief of Staff Susie Wiles is now urging White House aides stop censoring reports of U.S. military losses and Iranian military successes, as well as plunging poll numbers and gas prices trends from President Trump to make him realize what a disaster his catastrophic war in Iran has become. Tell him what is actually happening. I mean, also, like another confession that was made. Donald Trump and Pete Hegseth both surprised by the barrage and the continued barrage of retaliatory attacks by Tehran against the U.S. and Israel, their targets across the region, including in countries long assumed to be off limits: Kuwait, Bahrain, Saudi Arabia, the United Arab Emirates, and Qatar, a state that had both harbored Iran's proxies and served as a conduit for back-channel diplomacy between the U.S. and Hamas. The response shattered the assumption that Tehran would confine itself to performative retaliation. Anybody could have told you that. Like, you're just learning about that on April 3rd? Seriously, you're learning about this on April 3rd? How utterly pathetic. And as I noted, another confession that was made by the Trump regime late last night, 50% of Iran's missile launchers and thousands of attack drones remain intact, and Iran's arsenal, and is part of Iran's arsenal, despite daily U.S.-Israeli strikes per CNN. U.S. intelligence also shows a large percentage of Iran's coastal defense cruise missiles still intact, allowing them to keep the Strait of Hormuz closed. So no, Iran is not completely decimated, decapitated, destroyed, leaderless. Quite the contrary. They're stronger than ever. They're more legitimized than ever. And now you have purported allies of the United States, like those in Philippines, posting things like this. Productive call today with Iranian Foreign Minister Araghchi. Building on recent talks, we reached a positive understanding on the safety of our seafarers and the security of our energy supply. Grateful for the warm spirit of cooperation, an emoji of a Philippines flag and an Iranian flag. Seriously, the Trump regime has done so much now, actually, to legitimize the Iranian regime, to weaken the United States. And even we're seeing the Gulf countries having to negotiate bilaterally with Iran. And we're seeing France and others talk about, negotiating directly with Iran. And Donald Trump's statements talking about Bruce Springsteen, it's just so utterly unhinged. More confessions from top Trump aides, more shocking confessions. The FBI announced yesterday, and this didn't get enough attention. FBI declares suspected Chinese hack of U.S. surveillance system a major cyber incident. The designation suggests the hackers successfully compromised swaths of sensitive data stored directly on FBI systems. As Michael Ron Bowling writes, this is massive. China successfully hacked the FBI and had access to court-authorized surveillance orders, putting the PRC in the position to detect investigations into its own espionage activity. And for a long period of time, Kash Patel and the FBI, they were covering this up. And now they had to confess because it reached a certain threshold under the law called the FISMA. And once that threshold is met under the FISMA, they had to disclose it. And then someone was basically like, we can get, this is a criminal act to continue to hide it. And so they disclosed this incident. A lot of these confessions were in the latest Time magazine article. Look at the front page of this Time magazine article. Time, where's the exit? Trump looks for a way out of the Iran war. And it's Donald Trump looking at a map. It looks like he's looking at a map of Iran for the first time. And I guess that one of Donald Trump's thoughts are, okay, how am I going to get out? Let's use the 31st Marine Expeditionary Unit, and let's use the U.S. Marines with Force Reconnaissance Platoon assigned to the 31st. Let's see what they're going to do. So at the naval base over in Diego Garcia, you had the Marines rehearsing a ground invasion. Iran says it's prepared and it's ready for a ground invasion. And it's been posting all day, come for us. We're ready for you. We're ready for you. We're going to make it, we're going to make mass death. You had Iran repeating that over and over again. One of the things with all of these confessions being made, Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth yesterday fired Army Chief of Staff General Randy George, who was widely viewed as just great commanding general, great soldier, great all-around person. Randy George fired. In addition to Randy George being fired, Hegseth also fired General David Hodney, a former Army Ranger who leads the Army Transformation and Training Command, and Major General William Green Jr., the chief of the Army's Chaplain Corps. And Hegseth and his team escalate their long-running feud with Secretary of the Army Dan Driscoll, who reports indicate may also be fired soon by the Trump regime. Why was General George and why is Driscoll likely going to be fired? The reason for General George's firing, the New York Times explains, Hegseth for months pressed General George and Army Secretary Dan Driscoll to remove 4 officers, 2 black officers, 2 female officers from a promotions list. George and Driscoll refused, citing the officers' long and exemplary service. In addition, NBC News reports that Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth has taken steps to block or delay the promotion of more than a dozen black and female senior officers across all 4 branches of the military, some of whom are seen as having been targeted because of their race, gender, or perceived affiliation with the Biden administration policies or officials, according to 9 U.S. officials familiar with this process. So, as the United States is stuck in this quagmire in Iran, this disastrous war, as Iran continues to strike its neighbors in Qatar and Bahrain and UAE and Kuwait, in Iraq, American military bases in Saudi Arabia, as Iran continues to strike there, Donald Trump is firing the top generals, top military leaders. They're isolating great military leaders because apparently of race and ethnicity or religion or affiliation with Biden. These are non-political positions, but this is what the Trump regime is doing. It's deranged. It's a loser mentality. And you see a lot of allies of the United States or former allies now just going directly to speak with Iran. We'll see, folks, if a ground invasion happens today or in the next few days. We're monitoring that very, very closely. But all of these stunning major admissions, major confessions being made by the Trump regime. Thanks, everybody, for watching. Hit subscribe. Let's get to 7 million subscribers. We appreciate you.
Want to stay plugged in? Become a subscriber to our Substack at MeidasPlus.com. You'll get daily recaps from Ron Filipkowski, ad-free episodes of our podcast, and more exclusive content only available at MeidasPlus.com.